A few days ago, we were very close to getting the legendary accuracy of 0%. But unfortunately, it seems that making consecutive blunders isn't as easy as we thought. Maybe we should instead find the longest line of opening theory on the site. As you can see in the game review, it keeps going for 21 book moves in a row. This is actually the main line of a very famous opening, so I'll try to make this a little more instructive. It starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. You're probably familiar with this opening, but if you don't know the name, it's the Lopez, or the Spanish opening. The most common reply in this position is a6, which is called the Morphy defense, then knight to f6, the Berlin, which has a reputation for being a solid opening that has a very high drawing rate. We get the Morphy in the game instead of the Berlin. White has to make a choice to either take the knight or retreat. So we have bishop to a4, knight to f6, then white plays a move that some people think is illegal, including me when I was 5. Black can indeed take the pawn, but white has the strong move d4, and if black is greedy and takes another pawn, then there's rook to e1, and black is almost losing all of a sudden, but it's a sharp position and you have to know what you're doing as white. So if you get d4, you should instead play b5 and give the pawn back with d5. So instead of going into complications, we get bishop to e7. White defends the pawn with the rook. Black kicks the white bishop with b5, so his opponent retreats it to b3. Then, we have d6, which is intended to increase the central pawn's protection, which allows the knight on c6 to go to a5 and trade white's bishop. So white sees black's plan and plays c3, which is a multi-purpose move. It gives the bishop a nice retreating square, and it also supports the central break d4. Then, black castles, and white would love to strike with d4, but it's been found that bishop to g4 is a very strong reply. The best way to stop it and prepare d4 is to play h3. Then, we have one of the most interesting positions in all of chess. Black has a lot of choices in this position. There's knight to a5, there's knight to b8, there's also bishop to b7, but the game continues with knight to b8, which is called the Briar. This move aims to get the knight to the d7 square, opening up the way for the bishop that will go to b7. Not to mention that it can support the future c5. So white finally plays d4, and the knight completes its journey to the d7 square. White develops his other knight, and we get bishop to b7 as expected. White retreats his bishop to c2, which is now possible after he played c3, and black centralizes his rook. Still theory. We have knight to f1, which prepares to go to g3, and then to the f5 outpost if his opponent doesn't do anything about it. We have bishop to f8, opening up the way for the rook, then knight to g3 as expected, so black blocks the knight with g6. Then, white shifts his focus to the queen side and plays a4. Black responds with c5, which is supported by the knight on d7, so white has to respond with d5, negating the activity of black's bishop and gaining more space in the center. Black then keeps expanding with c4, opening up the c5 outpost for his knight. White plays bishop to g5, pinning the black knight to the queen, and black has multiple good choices, but he chooses h6, which asks the bishop if it wants to take or retreat. White retreats the bishop to e3, arguing that his opponent has created a weakness on h6, which can then be attacked with a battery after queen to d2. Black plays knight to c5, and white sets up the battery as expected, so black plays h5. But now the h-pawn is no longer controlling the g5 square, so the white bishop returns, and black breaks the pin with his own bishop. The final book move in this line is the strange-looking, rook to a3. This move prepares to double the brothers on the a-file, and in this position, we finally reached the end of theory. Well, at least on the site, because in this position, knight f to d7 has been played 123 times. And by the way, not a single pawn has been traded yet. Yeah.